The story of Ruth is told in the biblical book of Ruth, which is one of the historical books of the Old Testament. It is a short narrative consisting of 4 chapters, but rich in themes of faith, loyalty, redemption, and divine providence. Here is a detailed summary of the story. The book of Ruth is set during the period of the judges in Israel, a time marked by instability and lack of central leadership, which resulted in constant cycles of sin, oppression, and redemption for the people of Israel. The story begins with an Israelite family from Bethlehem, consisting of Elimelech, his wife Naomi, and their 2 sons, Mahlon and Chilion. Due to a severe famine in Israel, they moved to the land of Moab, a pagan country. There, Elimelech dies, leaving Naomi a widow. Her 2 sons marry Moabite women, Ruth and Orpah. After about 10 years, Naomi's 2 sons also die, leaving Naomi without a husband and childless. Naomi decides to return to Bethlehem, having heard that the famine in Israel has ended. She encourages her 2 daughters-in-law to return to their parents' homes and find new husbands. Orpah reluctantly agrees and returns to her homeland, but Ruth refuses to leave Naomi and makes a famous declaration of loyalty. "Do not urge me to leave you or turn away from you. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God." Ruth and Naomi then return to Bethlehem together. Divine providence and Ruth's work. Upon arriving in Bethlehem, Naomi and Ruth are in a difficult situation, without any means of support. Ruth, showing initiative and willingness, goes to the fields to gather ears of grain that the harvesters left behind, a practice permitted by Israelite law to help the poor. She ends up gleaning in the field of Boaz, a relative of Elimelech. Boaz is impressed by Ruth's loyalty to Naomi and treats her kindly, allowing her to glean grain from his fields and ensuring her protection. He also orders his workers to intentionally leave ears of grain for Ruth to glean. Ruth's request and Boaz's rescue. Naomi realizes that Boaz could be the redeemer of the family, according to the Israelite law of levirate, which allowed a relative to redeem the property of a deceased relative and marry the widow to preserve the family name. She instructs Ruth to present herself to Boaz on a night of celebration, suggesting that he take on her role as redeemer. Ruth follows Naomi's advice and approaches Boaz at night, while he sleeps in the field. She wakes him up and asks him to take her under his wing. Boaz is willing, but warns her that there is a closer relative who would have the right to rescue her first. He promises to resolve the issue. Redemption and marriage. Boaz goes to the city elders and confronts the closest relative, explaining the situation. The nearest relative, however, does not wish to take on the responsibility of redeeming Elimelech's property and marrying Ruth, so he renounces his claim in favor of Boaz. Boaz then marries Ruth, and she gives birth to a son named Obed. Naomi, who had begun the story bitter over the loss of her family, now has a grandson to comfort her in her old age. The book ends by revealing that Obed becomes the father of Jesse, who is the father of King David, making Ruth a direct ancestor of the great king of Israel and eventually of Jesus Christ. The story of Ruth is often seen as a testament to the power of loyalty, faith, and divine providence. Ruth, a Moabite, a foreigner, is included in the people of God and in the lineage of the Messiah. Ruth's loyalty to Naomi, her willingness to work, and Boaz's kindness are central aspects of the narrative, culminating in redemption and the restoration of hope. Furthermore, the book of Ruth illustrates themes of inclusion, with Ruth, a foreign woman, being given an honored place in the history of Israel, and eventually in the history of salvation. This is the full story of Ruth, an ordinary woman who, through her faithfulness and faith, had an extraordinary impact on God's redemptive plan. If you've made it this far, thank you very much for watching our video. If you liked it, leave a like. It's very important to us. Subscribe to Sacred Stories to be part of our content.